Hi, welcome. This is the first course from Oasis Network. It's introductory course. It's called Oasis Network 101, where we will have 5 modules discovering Oasis network architecture, platform, and all the ecosystem around the Oasis. So let me begin with what is included in this course. So agenda or course flow includes 5 modules. We will start with module 1, Oasis Network Overview. Then we will go to module 2, and this will be all about Oasis Wallets, especially official wallets, web and browser extension. Module 3 will actually talk about transferring rows. So how to transfer rows from one address to another, from consensus to paratime, and this is very crucial to understand. Then module 4 includes Oasis Blockchain Explorers, and just to give you a quick idea, we have explorers for consensus and also for paratimes. And in module 5, we want to introduce some dApps which were built on top of Oasis Network, particularly on Emerald EVM supported blockchain. So we will talk and mention about DEXs, bridges, lending protocols, and even NFT and Web3 platforms. So stay with us and enjoy the first module. Hi, welcome to module 1. My name is Gasper and I'm Developer Relations Lead at Oasis Network. In this module, I will introduce you the Oasis Network architecture, the paratimes that we built, and also how we compare to other chains, so you will see how we fit in the blockchain world. So let me begin with the Oasis Network architecture. We are a layer 1 blockchain with privacy built in. We also built another use cases on so-called paratimes. So let me explain. We have a separated, isolated consensus layer, which means that we don't run smart contracts and all these functionalities from EVM chains and so on consensus layer, but we're keeping it simple, robust, secure, and scalable. That's why we built paratimes. Those paratimes are actually parallel runtimes where we have specific functionalities. For example, privacy built-in computations. We have, for example, EVM support, right? And we also have, if you want to have some data with privacy and let's say encrypted functionalities, you can also use Parcel Paratime or Parcel SDK. So essentially these paratimes, they don't own their own consensus layer, but they share the same consensus layer, which means that we have great scalability. And if you compare them, they are totally independent and they do not affect each other. Okay, so they have their own parameters, their own purpose, and they do not affect each other. So they're isolated from each other. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's how we can ensure really high throughput, high scalability, and a lot of use cases. Keep in mind that those paratimes were built by Oasis team. If you are a developer, if you have a team and you want to build a paratime, you have all the possibilities. You can use our Oasis SDK and our other SDKs that we are offering, and you can build your own paratime. So that's pretty awesome because community can build whatever they need. So I like that. Now, if you want to compare our network, it's very scalable, right? With privacy built in. So we always think about security and how we will ensure this, let's say, privacy. Okay. So if we talk about consensus, we have this 6-second average block time. Compared to other chains, you see we're on the lower side. But in reality, also what matters is this finality, right? So when you send something, let's say rows, to another site, you don't need a lot of confirmations and so on, but you get instant your, let's say, rows from one address to another. So we have proof of stake protocol. We actually stake rows to have a secure network. We don't have this proof of work like Ethereum has or like Bitcoin has. Now, keep in mind that we're the only one here with fully integrated confidentiality support. We will more talk about that on Cypher Paradigm and also another product that we're building, and it will be released very soon. It's actually confidential EVM chain. And if you take a look about the scalability, we have very, very nice transaction per second throughput. So it's up to 1,000 transactions per second. And now, if you multiply that, so with all the paratimes that we can have, you get really high numbers, right? So if you imagine 1,000 paratimes, right, isolated blockchains below or let's say above the consensus layer, and that each can have 1,000 transactions per second, that gets crazy, right? So it's awesome. Now, we also have smart contracts, right? We can have Solidity smart contracts on EVM supported blockchain, which is Emerald. And we also have smart contracts, let's say, written in Rust. So we also support WASM, right? So you can have this confidentiality with smart contracts, which were built on Cypher Paradigm. We will also mention that a bit later on. And yes, we have options for permissionless or permissioned configuration if you want, but by default, of course, we are permissionless. Keep in mind that we're public blockchain, so all the transactions can be always inspected or viewed on block explorers. Okay, let me jump into the Emerald paradigm. So some parameters and some features that Emerald offers. First of all, it's fully EVM compatible. You can imagine that if you have a project built on Ethereum, you can simply migrate everything to our EVM compatible blockchain called Emerald. Now, how you benefit? You benefit with very low cost for transactions. You benefit with very fast and much faster, right, transactions than on Ethereum. So we have the block time same as consensus, right? So this is 6 seconds, right? And the scalability, you know now why it's so high with increased throughput, right? Because we have these isolations of, let's say, layer 2 or layer 1.5 paradigm compared to the consensus layer. Now, currently we're running more than 56 Oasis nodes for Emerald, and we are always using Rose as our native token that runs the blockchain. All right, so let's see how you can use it. So you can use existing tools like Hardhat, Truffle, Remix to build your own or favorite smart contracts and deploy things like, solutions for DeFi, dApps, like DEXs, like NFT marketplaces, DeFi gaming, or you can call it GameFi, oracles and stuff like that. So it's really useful and it has many benefits compared to other chains. Now, Cypher Paradigm was built with a different purpose. It was built with full privacy and confidential support. Okay? Now, smart contracts are always written in Rust here, and they are compiled to WebAssembly. And they have these private transactions and private states. So whatever you actually want to compute, you have the privacy ensured, because we have this trusted execution environment, or TEE, on the blockchain. So basically, we are the first blockchain offering that, which is done inside Intel SGX enclaves. Okay, which means that we have really robust security here. So no other option than, physically removing some hardware from processors, from motherboard and so on, right? So that's really awesome. Now, scalability is also ensured through high transaction throughput, because you've seen that we have consensus layer separated, and again we have the same, usually it should be the same, like 6 seconds average block time, and we're also running the decentralized network by more than 43 Oasis nodes already. And also here we're using the ROS as a native token. So again, for confidentiality, use Cipher Paratime. Smart contracts are already live on testnet and also on mainnet. Parcel Paratime. Basically, it's an SDK if you want to use your data with responsible manner, right? So you want to protect or maybe isolate some sensitive data from other data that you own. And if you want to have some kind of a data management, how and which data is allowed to be used or shared, you have this opportunity inside the Parcel SDK. So you can have, for example, some data managers who can control access to sensitive data. You can also analyze data even if they're encrypted, so the data can be pulled and analyzed without even sharing the raw data. So that's amazing. And all the transactions that operate on sensitive data are typically maintained in an immutable ledger if you have some audits and if you want to have some verifications and so on, right? So yeah, Parcel Paratime is more focused on, let's say, documents with privacy, right? So you can have this encrypted data, while if you compare that to Cipher, you have smart contracts on chain and you can do things on chain with encryption. So thank you for being with me in first module, and we see you in the next one. Hi, welcome to module 2. My name is Gasper and I'm Developer Relations Lead at Oasis Network. In this module, I will explain how official Oasis wallets look like, the functionalities, how they work, and how you can use them. So the first official Oasis wallet is Web Wallet, and the second official wallet is Browser Extension. So let me start with the first one, which is Web Wallet. Before we dive into that, I want to make and distinguish between two addresses. So first of all, on consensus layer, your Oasis wallet looks like that. So that's Oasis 1 wallet, how I call it, because the ROS, the native token, is always used on that consensus layer, and it could be transferred then to Emerald Paratime and other paratimes. But essentially, this is the consensus layer address. And for this address, you will notice you can use Web Wallet and also Browser Extension. And you will notice later on that for these specific addresses, you will need to use specific block explorers, right? So the second one is EVM compatible, or let's say Ethereum compatible address with 0x at the beginning, right? So that's essentially Ethereum address that could be used also on any EVM compatible blockchain. So if you already have one Ethereum address, you can use that one for Emerald Paratime. Okay. Now, we will take a look how to transfer ROS or other assets to your Emerald Paratime, to EVM compatible blockchain, to this address. But let's start with our wallets. So first, Oasis Wallet Web. It can be found on wallet.oasisprotocol.org. What can you do with this wallet? First of all, you can create a new wallet, or if you already have a wallet, you can simply open it. For that reason, you will need either private key, mnemonics, so we will see the options. You can also send some ROS or receive some ROS, even delegate, or how you can call it, also staking, right? So you can stake some rows on consensus layer, right? So it's not the EVM, it's not the cipher and so on, but it's on the consensus layer, right? So that's why this Oasis Wallet Web currently it's the most appropriate for consensus layer. Of course, you can use browser extension for consensus also, but Oasis Web works with consensus. Now, to open a wallet, I mentioned a few options already, but you will notice you can also use hardware wallet like Ledger, right? Now, if you have mnemonics, you can open your wallet with mnemonics. Sometimes you might export your private keys from this, remember, Oasis One wallet, and you can import or let's say open your wallet with private key. Same goes for Ledger. If you have a Ledger hardware wallet, I suggest that you go to docs.oasis.dev because there we have a nice guide with self-custody with Ledger, and you will notice how simple it is to use a hardware wallet, the most secure way, right, to manage your rows. Now, to continue, you can also send, receive your rows, or you can even check the transactions. So what happened, in the past, your history if you want. Now, on the top, so once you open your wallet, you will notice on the top right corner that there's your address, and the same is on the top left, let's say. This is your address, this is your wallet address. It's basically a public address which you can share across because people can send you the rows here, right? So this is something that you can share. Now, also this QR code represents this address. If you want to send some rows to your friends, to your parents or whoever, right? You can use this option where you simply enter the address. So I suggest copy and pasting the addresses, not typing them manually because you can do a typo pretty fast and then you might have a problem when you send some rows. So copy the address, paste the address of the recipient, and then enter the amount of rows, right? And then you just click send and the rows will be sent over to the destination address. All right, so once you have some transactions, it could be receiving tokens, it could be sending, it could be maybe reclaiming, right? So I did some undelegation, so that's why it says here reclaimed. You can see all these transactions. Now, the stake functionality is also part of Web Wallet. That's the third icon. Now, this tab, if you want, will offer you to delegate or undelegate some rows from validators. Okay? What does that mean? It means if you want to stake some rows and make the network more secure, okay, you can get rewards back for doing that. And that's called staking or delegating your rows. Now, from validator list, you can choose any validator, okay? And usually, if we want to have really decentralized network, I suggest, delegating your rows to not to top 10 validators, right? But maybe some below, okay? So it could be top 20, top 30 validator, and you can delegate there, especially if the fee is normal or acceptable for you. And if you feel, of course, secure that it's, that it's reliable validator, okay? So to prevent some centralization, we actually put some notifications that we don't really encourage sending everything to top 10 delegators because we want to have decentralized network, okay? But essentially the result is the same, okay? So once you delegate, so you of course select one of these validators, so you have a list of 120 validators. You choose your preferred one and you define how many rows you want to delegate. Okay, and then you will find active delegations and debonding delegations. What does that mean? So if you stake some rows, actually you do the delegation, you did the delegation, you will find them at active delegations. And active delegation is actually amount that you're staking, or the amount on top of which you're receiving some rewards. Okay? The debonding delegations are actually your, let's say, rows that is waiting to be released back to your wallet, which means that you probably undelegate, let's say in the past, today, yesterday, right? And then after approximately 14 days, you will get and receive back your staked rows with rewards back to your address. Okay, so that's what you can do with rows inside the web wallet. Now, if we move to browser extension, so it's called Oasis Wallet browser extension, you can basically do the same or perform the same tasks or operations, and maybe even more. So maybe from one perspective, it's even more useful or recommended because it supports also the transfer between consensus layer and paradigm, which means if you have some rows, let's say you bought some rows on an exchange, you first send these rows to your consensus address. That could be, something Oasis 1 something, right? And then once this rows is received to your official, let's say, wallet, you can transfer these rows to, for example, Emerald paradigm. And then once you have rows on Emerald paradigm, you can use these rows, for example, on dApps, on lending protocols, on any dApp that it's needed, right? For example, on marketplace for NFTs and so on. So that's pretty cool. Now, you can, of course, create a new wallet, restore wallet, which is basically the same as opening on the web wallet, sending and receiving, and also delegating, or even, let's say, undelegating, which is a staking functionality, right? Okay, so you will see my wallet. So this is Wallet tab, where you will notice your status of your address, for example. So you will find a total amount available of rows that you have. So you will have available rows, which means maybe to send to friends, to other addresses. Then you will find active delegations and also debonding delegations, which means what? That I don't have any available. I only stake 0.00003 rows on some validator, and I debonded, or I make debonding delegation of 103.5 blah blah blah, right? Rows from some validator. Okay. Now on this tab, you can also go to paradigms, where you will see your paradigms and the amount of rows on these paradigms. You can also send some rows or receive some rows, and you can see the history, which is pretty cool because you have sent, receive, maybe even delegations, right, in the history. Now, if you go to the second tab, staking, you will notice that currently I have active delegations 0, right? So the current amount of my delegated rows is so low that it shows 0, but total balance is 103.55. What does that mean? That I should have some debonding delegations, right? So that's true. And if you click the debonding delegations, you will notice I'm actually debonding 103.55 actually and something rows, and there's estimated release time. Okay, that's approximately 14 days if you were wondering, right? So let's see what else can you do. You can do some account management. What does that mean? On the first tab, wallet, you also have on the top right account management icon, right? So that's an icon where you can actually manage your accounts. It could be Oasis account, or it could be Ethereum compatible account. So that's why at the beginning I wanted to make this difference between Oasis consensus addresses and also Ethereum compatible addresses. Okay, so what can you do? You can actually go to this account management and you can check your current address. You can then import, for example, existing Oasis accounts, or even import Ethereum compatible accounts. So you can use Ethereum compatible accounts for Emerald Paradigm, our EVM compatible blockchain, or you can just create a new Oasis account. Okay, so you're not able to create the Ethereum compatible accounts, but you can create Oasis accounts. Okay, once you have multiple accounts here, you can switch between them by clicking this, let's say, opened circles, right? So when you have a green check mark, it means that this address is active in your wallet. Okay, so this account then becomes active. Now, if you have a ledger to use, you can actually do the, or you can click the ledger, and then you can use hardware wallet with your browser extension. Okay, now when you click import, I mentioned the import button. I mentioned you can import Oasis account or even Ethereum compatible account. Okay, so for importing, you will always need private key. Okay, so yeah, sometimes it's good to maybe create a wallet, export the wallet, create a wallet and export the account. You get the private key, and then you can import that private key to any browser extension, or even open that wallet in web wallet, right? Now, watch mode is only if you want to have, let's say control or to see the transactions. So basically with watch mode, if you import some address only for watch mode, you cannot really send any or stake any rows. Okay, so it's not really to managing your assets, your rows, but it's more for observing. Okay, so welcome to our first demo. It's about official Oasis wallets. I will show you how to create a new wallet, how to open existing wallet, and how to even import a different wallet, let's say Oasis account or even Ethereum compatible account. So let me start and begin with our web wallet. If you go to wallet.oasisprotocol.org, so that's our web wallet, you can either open a wallet or create a new one. For demo purposes, I will try to create a new one, and then I will use this wallet to import and open it in our browser extension. So let's create a new one, copy, and the best way to securely store these mnemonics is actually not copying them, but actually writing them down, because you might have compromised PC or your laptop, right? And we want to make sure that this mnemonics doesn't get to anybody else than just you. Okay, so I would write them down manually, and then once you have them, let's say on your paper or anywhere else, right, you can reuse them on browser extension or another PC or another device. Okay, so I will just do that for demo reason. It's not a good practice to copy them, keep that in mind. So I saved my key phrase, import my wallet, which means that I will actually use these key phrases, now my mnemonics, to open my new wallet. Okay, so import my wallet, voila, there's my new wallet. Okay, so what can I do now with this wallet? I have mnemonics, and I can go to Chrome, google.com, to web store, where I can search for Oasis wallet. So I will say Oasis. The first Oasis wallet is our official browser extension. So it must be, if you go down from our offered by Oasis Foundation, and currently we have version 1.5. Okay, So I can actually add this to Chrome because I already have it. I can remove it, but I can just use it right here. Okay. So I will go to my web wallet and I will reopen the same wallet. So basically when you click that, you can say restore wallet or create a new wallet. So what I will do is actually restore wallet because I will use this mnemonics now. So first of all, you need to create a password for your browser extension. Think about that as a master password that will unlock your wallet. Okay, and this wallet will have multiple accounts if you wish so. So let's start with having a password. For example, I don't know, make it a secure, so it must be a number, lowercase, and so on, right? So let's try this password. Okay, let's try this password. Understand. Okay. Okay, so password does not match. Okay, maybe let's try this time. Yep. Okay, and then when you come to this restore wallet, you simply just paste your, or actually you need to write them down, right? Manually, if you write them on the paper, all 24 seed words in order to open your wallet. Okay, I click confirm and now I have congrats, you have restored a wallet successfully. Start. Okay, I will just close this browser extension or maybe just move to my browser again, because now if I click that wallet, I have my newly created wallet here with available balance 0 because it was empty, it was fresh. So essentially you see I have the same wallet in two different, let's say, apps, right? One is the browser extension and one is in browser. Okay, so what can I do now? I can go to account management and you see now I have only one account. I will rename that account. So I will name it new demo account 1, or let's say 2. Okay, maybe just new demo account because you have only 16 characters. Okay, confirm. You can either also export private key because you can then reuse this private key and import that address into multiple browser extensions on different devices. And if I go back, I can import a wallet which could be Oasis account or even Ethereum compatible account. Okay, so let's do for the demo purpose first Oasis private key. Okay, now if you exported Oasis private key, let's say from this account, I will say Oasis demo 2, and I need to provide my private key. So private key that I actually exported was, let's say, this one. So that was one of my demo accounts. So I will paste here my private key, confirm. And voila, there is imported demo account. Okay, and this account, you see, it has 208 rows. So now, if you select the first one and go back, you see you have 0 balance. If you go to account management, select the second one and go back, you have the second account. Okay, so what I will do now, I will copy this address, okay, the newly created wallet, and I will open extension now, and from my imported wallet I will send some rows to that account, so to the newly created wallet, right? So I will just do some demo amount like 0.1 for example, click next, confirm the transaction details. So from 2 the fee is 0 and we have 0.1 rows. Confirm. Now this should take a few seconds. You will get pending screen first, and then very soon it will be let's say refreshed to successful, so that green check mark. But you can also go to browser extension and refresh your wallet, and you should have 0.1 rows here. So you see how fast that is, how cool and easy interaction it is. So what can I also do now is if I go back to my browser extension, you will notice under account management, I have 2 accounts, but those are both Oasis accounts. If I want to use Emerald, I can actually go and import my Ethereum compatible account. So I will go and click import. I will click Ethereum compatible private key because I want to now import Ethereum compatible account to be used for my Emerald. Okay, so I will say Emerald demo account next, and I need to provide my private key here. Okay, so I have a demo account that's private key for my ETH account, let's say for 0x account. Confirm, and voila, I have Ethereum compatible account. So now I have 3 accounts. I can select either and I can see the details. So let me check the Ethereum compatible account, go back, and you see the wallet now doesn't display all the details because now I can go only to paratimes since it's my address, Ethereum compatible address, it's not in consensus. So I go to paratimes, and you see here I can see available balance of my rows from this Ethereum compatible account. And what I can do, I can just send it to consensus. Okay, so how much or how many? Let's say I will send 0.1 again to this address. Okay, I will have to do it again. So paratimes to consensus, and let's say to my newly created account, I will say 0.1 next, and you will confirm the transaction. So now it will go from Ethereum compatible account from Emerald to consensus account, which is Oasis 1. Okay, so what you will notice is that this will be, let's say, from paratime to consensus transaction. Okay, so if I go back, you see now if I refresh my browser, I should have 0.2. Voila. And you will see the transaction. If I go to my browser extension, change the account to new demo account, go back, voila, I have 0.2. And you see, I have first transaction, which was receiving 10, so 0.10 or 0.1 rows. And the second one was actually Emerald transaction. Okay, so you see from this account to my account here, and all the details, right? You can also see it on the Explorer, but essentially you see how easy it is to transfer rows from consensus to Emerald paratime, from consensus to consensus, right? So what I can also do is if you want to send, for example, some rows from one to another, let's do it from this newly created account to paratime. So what I will need actually is my account address, so Emerald demo account address. Go back, I will click here to copy that address, and I will change the account to my newly created account. Go back, and now how to send some rows to Emerald. I can go to paratimes here or to the paratimes tab, okay? And here I can say to paratime, so it could be to Cypher, to Emerald. I will do it to Emerald because I have the address in my clipboard now. So let's say to paratime, provide the Ethereum compatible address and the amount from available, okay? So I will say 0.1. Next, confirm transaction. And now I should receive 0.1 rows to Emerald on this Ethereum compatible account. Voila. Let me go back and let's change to the Emerald demo account. So this is the Ethereum compatible account. And if you remember from before, it was 24.1, now it's 24.2. And if you want to verify that, you can go back to account management, new demo account, back and check the wallet and history. Okay, so if I refresh that, I should have transaction Emerald, you see, and that was actually from consensus to, yeah, so this address is not relevant for you, but it was actually Emerald transaction which went to my ETH compatible account. Now, I hope that makes sense. I hope that it's a good experience to you. Maybe some settings to go over. So under security, you can also back up your mnemonic phrase, which means that you can, so I will just provide my password from my wallet, from browser extension wallet. And this is actually the, mnemonics that we're using for our wallet with multiple accounts. Okay. Now, if you want to export private keys, you can go again to account management. And let's say you want to export private key for second Oasis account. Select this one. Actually, you don't need to do that, but if you click that arrow, you will have this option, export private key. Okay, so that's pretty easy. You have account address, you have account name, and you can export private key. Okay, so I will say my password here to check my private key, and voila, I can actually copy that private key to any different maybe web wallet to open my wallet with private key. Okay, I hope that demo makes sense, that it was really useful for you. And if I refresh that one for final step, you will notice that I should have only 0.1 rows. Yep. Thank you for being here and see you in the next module. Hi, welcome to Module 3. My name is Gasper and I'm Developer Relations Lead at Oasis Network. In this module, I will show you how to transfer rows simply with our official Oasis Wallet browser extension. So we will see how to send some rows, how to receive some rows in browser extension, and also how to delegate or even undelegate. So basically, if you want to stake your rows to get some reward, we will see how to do that. So let's start with how to transfer rows on consensus layer. Okay? So for that reason, you will need browser extension, or even Oasis Wallet Web can actually transfer, which means send and receive rows on consensus layer. Okay? Now, I will show you the demo later on, but essentially if you take a look at screenshots, you see that Oasis demo account, which I created or imported at the beginning, has some rows, has some available rows, has some active delegations and so on, right? So if I want to send from my account, from my Oasis consensus account, to some address, I will have to click send. Okay? And then you will notice I can enter amount, how many rows, and then destination Oasis 1 address or destination consensus address. Okay? Or the receiving address. And then you can click next and confirm the transaction. After a few seconds, you can actually go back and check your balance again or available rows, and you will see that the number or the amount was, deducted, or 5 rows are now gone since you send them to another account. Okay, so that's how simple it is. You go to wallet, you click send, you provide amount, and then to which consensus address. And you will have to confirm transaction, and that's sending some rows to consensus address. Now, if you want to receive, of course, there is another button called receive, right? Called receive. And then you will get the address of your wallet, of your account, and you can share this address to anyone who wants to send you some rows. Now, if you want to transfer some rows from consensus to paratimes, then you will have to go not to wallet but to paratimes. This is very useful if you want to use some dApps on Emerald EVM compatible blockchain. So you can essentially do what? You can actually, let's say, buy some rows on exchange and then send these rows to consensus address, basically to your wallet, to your consensus layer address, Oasis 1 address. And then you can transfer these rows from consensus layer to paratime. How to do that? You can usually go to paratimes tab and select Emerald to paratime button. Okay, that means that you will send or transfer some rows from consensus to paratime, Emerald paratime. Now, the second step is to provide amount of rows that you want to send or transfer. And you see the available is only 5 because we already, sent 5 to another consensus address. And then provide Ethereum compatible account. Okay, so now this is not the consensus transaction or transfer, but it's actually sending rows to Ethereum compatible account. Okay, so that's our, let's say, Emerald account. Okay, so once I provide and I click next and confirm the transaction, you will notice that your wallet will have balance only 3 since we sent 2 from 5, so the remaining is 3 rows. Okay, and you will also see the transaction now will appear as an Emerald transaction, not as a regular transaction to consensus. Okay, so that's how simply you transfer your rows from consensus to paratime. You can also do the opposite direction. Okay, so you can actually send some rows from paratime to consensus. That's also possible. Now, to stake your rows or to delegate rows to a validator to receive some rewards for, let's say, securing the network, you can delegate minimum 100 rows to one of the validators. Okay, so how you do that? First of all, you must have available minimum 100 rows, and then you can go to staking tab where you actually find active validators. Okay, so basically you need to click validators and you will see active validators there. Okay, now why I actually pointed out this 5% is because usually you can select any validator. We have about, or let's say 120 validators, and you can select anyone, so any validator who you like. But we want to make sure that we have decentralized network. So usually we say, okay, make sure that you maybe select actually your favorite one, or maybe one that it's not in top 10 to not support really centralization, but you can go down below, select the one you like, and maybe check the commission that it's acceptable for you, right? So that's why I actually squared this one, right? So it's 5%, which is, low enough for me to accept it. Even 10% is not too big, but that's what it is. Now, once you select the validator, you can enter amount of rows you want to send, or you want to delegate, or you want to stake, right? So I will do 100, the minimum. And you see, I've chosen the course one validator. You can go to any one basically. So sometimes I choose Stakefish, course one, there's Binance staking and so on. So a lot of a lot of validators to choose from. And then you click next and confirm the transaction. Okay, so basically that's also a transaction that you need to confirm. And then once the transaction is confirmed, you can go from validators tab to my delegations. These my delegations will actually show you how many rows you actually staked or delegated on how many validators. So basically I have 2 active delegations. And then on each validator or active delegation, you can actually delegate more or even undelegate. Okay, so if you want to, let's say, claim your rows with rewards, you will do undelegate. So you click undelegate. All right, so I will show you that on the next slide. So how to undelegate? Again, you go to staking tab, you have to go to my delegations, the default one, and then you have active delegations. So all your delegations that you did before, and then you see many validators that you were using, and just decide which one you want to undelegate. Okay, so once you click undelegate, you can enter the amount. You don't need to undelegate all, but you can undelegate only, I don't know, maybe 1, maybe 100, maybe thousands. It depends how many you have. And then click next to confirm the transaction again. Okay, once you will confirm the transaction for undelegation, you will find debonding delegations, or let's say your active debonding delegations, under this tab. So you will see that I had some from before, so I only have 86 hours left, and I have, so that course one was actually the one that I staked before, that I delegated before, and that's why there are like 336 hours, right, which is approximately 14 days to be received, right? So essentially you get all the rows back with rewards that you earned in this in this time. Welcome to second demo, which is about transferring rows, especially focusing on how to delegate and how to undelegate. With other words, if you want to stake your rows and secure the network, so help to secure the network, you get rewarded for that. So that's staking your rows. And let's see how we will do that. First of all, you need to have, in this case, either browser extension, or if you go to wallet.oasisprotocol.org, you can open your wallet. So now we have only 0.1 rows for usage. We can send it to friends, we can stake it and so on, right? The problem is that the minimum amount of rows for staking is 100 rows. Okay, now what we will do, I need to receive some rows. Okay, so to do that, I can actually copy this address, and I will just use another account, another Oasis account, which I have in my browser extension. So I will open my wallet, I will change the account to Oasis Demo 2 because I have enough rows, and you see available 108. So I want to make sure that I send at least 100 rows, amount 100 to my address. Okay, so I can stake that amount. So maybe I will even do 101. Sometimes it's always better to have a bit more assets, because in some particular cases you might need some additional rows or USDC or ETH and so on to confirm and pay for fees and so on, right? So I will do 101. But in our case, you will notice now if I go out of that transaction, I should, if I refresh that wallet, I should have 101.1 rows. Yep. Okay. So you see that's how I actually, let's say, deposit some rows to my, to this account, to this wallet account. And now since I have enough rows, I can do staking within my, within my wallet. Whoops. So I should probably open that wallet again. Or you know what? I prefer to use my browser extension. So I will just switch the account back to new demo account. So you see the ending is the same as YTH, okay, 101.1, you see. So what I can do is actually stake my rows. Go to staking tab. You have active delegation 0 because I didn't delegate any rows yet. So I will go to validators and I will just select one of the validators with, let's say, a fee that is acceptable. I will choose this one, tessellated geometry. Okay, I will send you some rows. All right, there is amount of rows self-delegated, other delegations. I will say delegate, and then I will do amount. Okay, I will enter 100. And I will click next and I will confirm the transaction. Okay, so that's delegating. Okay, it's not sending my rows to validator, but it's actually staking. Okay, so you see the type of transaction now is staking.add-escrow. So that's actually our staking or delegation. Okay, if I go back and back, I can click wallet now, and you notice the available amount is only 1.1, right? Because I delegated 100, okay? And you see the history, there it is. And if I go to staking now, and maybe I click my delegations, you see I have active delegations. So one active delegation of 100 rows. Okay, so you see it's active. Delegated 100 rows, and now you can delegate more. Okay, you see I can just enter the amount to the same validator, or I can click undelegate, and you will see I can do all. So click all, and I will click next. I will confirm, and that's how I actually undelegate my rows from the validator. Okay, so what you will notice now is that, okay, if I go to to refresh just to see the transaction, let me see. Okay, so you see total, available is still only 1.1. Why? Because I need to wait approximately 14 days to receive my undelegated rows back to my address. Okay, so if I go to staking now, you will notice that my delegations, active delegations is 0 because I actually undelegated. So if I go to debonding delegations, okay, let me see. Maybe it needs to refresh. Okay, let's go back. Let's try to just reopen the web browser. The browser extension. The transaction is here. If I go to staking, debonding, voila, there it is. So debonding delegations are now all the debondings that you did, or unstaking if you want, right? And that are, let's say, waiting to be released to your account again. Okay, so you see 100 rows is being undelegated. And after 336 hours approximately, I will receive them back to my wallet. And this wallet will have available 101.1. Okay, so that's how easy it is to receive some rows or to send some rows and then to stake it to some validator and maybe undelegate when you feel so. thank you for being here and see you in the next module. Hi, welcome to Module 4. My name is Gasper and I'm Developer Relations Lead at Oasis Network. In this module, I will show you the Oasis blockchain explorers built by community or Oasis or partners. So I will first share some block explorers for consensus layer, and then we will also see the explorer for Emerald Paradigm, which is our EVM blockchain or EVM, EVM compatible blockchain. So let me start with the first one, which is Oasis Scan. So if you want to check some transactions, if you want to verify some transactions, if you want to check some statuses, balances, or delegations, and so on, right, of any address on our blockchain, Oasis Scan is the first option to do so. So Oasis Scan can show you your address, details, can show you also a list of validators, so you can see all the validators that are on our network or that supports our network. Also, you can see pair-time validators. Okay, so you have pair-times, which is a tab or a menu, a tab that shows all the or a list of pair-time validators. And also, what's a good thing about Oasis Scan, it shows the consensus to pair-time transactions. So you have an option to click to, pair-time transactions, and you will have all the, pair-time to consensus or consensus to pair-time transactions, which is really, useful and handful to, to have that. Now let me give you an example. If you're using Oasis Scan and if you enter, for example, my address, you will notice some details first, right? So account address is that one. You see the total balance, you see the available balance, you see the escrow. So this escrow actually is your staking, is what you have sent as a delegation, or if you stake some rows, this will be presented as escrow. Now debonding is amount of rows that you are or that you undelegate, right? So you are waiting for these rows to be released back to your wallet. And here is actually your escrow or your staking. You can check active or debonding delegations, right? So you have both. There are some events that you did or that happened to your address, right? Or regarding to your address, which means maybe some transfer, like deposit, like sending some rows to another address. Okay, and down below you see the transaction history. So you can see transactions on consensus by default, but if you have some transactions, let's say coming from pair-time, you can click the pair-time button or tab, and it will show you only the pair-time transactions, which means that, let's say if you transferred something from Emerald Pair-time to consensus address, you will see these transactions under this tab, which is awesome, right? Now, let me show you even more, okay? If we go to one specific transaction, you can see the details, what happened on blockchain, right? So if you check and if you just maybe click on one transaction, if you have TX ID, or we call it also transaction hash or TX hash, if you copy and paste that to the Oasis Scan, or you find it, or you just click on one transaction, this will show up. Okay, so first transaction hash or transaction ID. You have the status. So let's say the typical is success, and then when this transaction happened. So basically it's a timestamp, right? And then there is a height where actually this occurred. Let's say on which or in which block height. And then you have the content of this transaction. So what you will typically find, or what you're looking for, is actually, okay, a method. You see what happened. For example, staking reclaim escrow. This is a method that actually means that I undelegated some rows, okay? And you see body includes account, so that's from validator, so from which account, which is, some validator that I unstaked. And then there are shares, which is basically just a representation, and it's not equal to your rows, but it's calculated from rows into shares, okay? So that's why I put here shares are not equal to rows stacked, right? Okay, if you go further, you will see some signatures, but also what's important is, the block height, the timestamp, so when and where it happened, okay? Now, also, if you're looking to which address this will be released, so you see the address in signature, you have also the signature public key and the address, right? The address. This is actually address that I'm using. This is my address, and I said this is the address where the rows will be released back to my account, back to my address. All right. So these are the details about some transactions. Now, if we go to another blockchain explorer or block explorer, which is Oasis Monitor. So Oasis Monitor is also for consensus layer, okay? You're using the Oasis 1 addresses and you can copy and paste them to this block explorer, right? And you can do the same things essentially then on Oasis Scan, okay? So you have a list of validators, you have some statistics here, but you can also use some APIs, right? So if you're a developer, you can use some APIs for your web application or something, right? Maybe you are building a dashboard or something, and you need these APIs. Cool. Now let me show you the same thing. So the same address, how it looks like on Oasis Monitor. So my address, I actually searched, I entered my address, and then this appears, okay? So I have my account details or account information. I see my address. I see my total balance, okay? I see my available or liquid balance. I can see escrow balance if I had any delegations, right, or staking. This would show up here. The bonding is also currently 0 because these are the bonding delegations balance. Okay, that's how they represent your unbonding delegations. Now, if you go to history, so there is a transfers, you have a history of your transactions, but keep in mind that here you have kind of a filter which transactions will appear. So you can go to escrow events if you want to see delegate and undelegate transactions. You can see the rewards here. So you can click these tabs, these links, these buttons, and you will see a different type of transactions. And maybe if you're interested in your rewards, you can see them by daily and so on, right? So that's pretty cool stuff if you are more into the rewards and more into the staking stuff, right? Now let's take a look at the another let's say block explorer. So this block explorer or blockchain explorer is meant for our EVM blockchain called Emerald, so Emerald Paradigm. Now you will notice that it looks similar, it has similar functionalities, but maybe in a different design user interface if you want. Now here you can only use Ethereum compatible addresses because those are used on EVM compatible blockchain on Emerald. Okay, so when you provide one address, I will show you the details in the next slide, but essentially what you can see are similar parameters like block heights, like transactions, like which tokens exist on this blockchain, or what are the smart contract addresses of specific tokens. One example could be that you breached some USDC or ETH and you need the smart contract address, maybe just to add that token to your MetaMask or something. So you can use that block explorer. You can enter the name or, let's say the name of the token and get the smart contract address. And also we offer, or let's say on this block explorer, you have some APIs. So that's pretty cool. Now, let me show you, more detailed option for this specific address. So that's one of my demo accounts I'm using. Okay, so on this EVM or let's say Ethereum compatible address, I actually sent some rows. And if you take a look, right, I will see the details about, okay, this is my address. Balance on this, account is actually, let's say 24.2 rows. Okay, so balance only shows the rows because rows is native token on Emerald blockchain. Now tokens, on the other hand, are all the tokens that you have on the same address, okay, or on the same account, right? Essentially, it means if you have, let's say, Ethereum or wrapped Ethereum, if you have, USD coin on Emerald, if you have some user tokens or, FTP tokens, whatever you're using, right, on Emerald, it should appear right here, okay? Then you have transactions or transaction history. So one of the, maybe similar functionalities than compared to these tokens is also this tokens right here down below. If you click that, you will see a list, okay? So you can actually play around, be curious, and click around to see and dive into your account on blockchain, okay? Now let me show you one more thing. It's actually a transaction details for, let's say in my case I had some, what did I do? Probably I sent some, or maybe I swapped something. So I did something on user, right? So you can see that was my transaction. So this is transaction hash or transaction ID. Then this was successful transaction. It was confirmed transaction. There is a block height, the timestamp, so when it happens, when it happened, and also from which address. Basically, that was my address, and I interacted to or with, and typically that's a smart contract address, or let's say the destination. Okay, so you see, I transferred some tokens, I minted some tokens, so maybe it was a swap, maybe it was a breach. But if you go, step by step, you actually see what happened, right? From my address, it went to this one. From this one, it went to user part. There's some, that's some user swaps address or a smart contract, and then the result comes in, right? So essentially, you see all the steps, all the interactions on blockchain, okay? Which is pretty cool. So if you compare that to consensus ones, they're very similar. It almost looks the same because that's the purpose of these block explorers, right? You want to see the status, you want to see what's going on, and you want to have, these transparent insights into the transactions, accounts, addresses, and what's going on blockchain, right? Because that's the point of public blockchains. Okay, so thank you for being in this module, and see you in the next one. Welcome to our third demo, which is about our Oasis blockchain explorers. So I will show you in reality how to inspect some addresses, how to see some details, and how to get some transaction details. Okay, so what I can do, I can go to my block explorer. So I will say Emerald, or actually it's explorer.emerald.oasisdev. I will just copy my address because I want to use one of the existing addresses so I can show you what happened with my account. So I will use this Ethereum compatible account now because this Explorer is meant for Ethereum compatible accounts. for Emerald. Okay, I copied the account. Now, the overview, right? Here is the Oasis Explorer. You have some statistics. That's the, some transactions per day. You have average block time. So currently it's a bit higher than usual. Then you have total transactions. You have total blocks, wallet addresses, and so on, right? So some statistics. There are transactions, smart contract calls, transactions, token transfers on Emerald. So which is pretty cool. Okay, now, you can also click on that transaction if you want to see the details, right? So you can do that. I will do that. You see the confirmation, in which block height, the transaction ID, timestamp, and so on. So you can actually see what happened. Okay. Now, if you want to see what was going on with your own address, copy the address, paste the address into the search bar, and see your address. So now you have status of your address. You see the balance 24.2, 5 tokens. Okay. You see, if you want to check the tokens, you can also check it here. Click tokens. And you see there's a list of tokens that this Ethereum compatible address, let's say, has or holds on Emerald. Okay. That's pretty cool. And if you want to check the history, I will go to transactions, and you see I did some transaction, 23 days ago. So yeah, that's my demo account, and you can see when I was actually active, what I was doing, and so on, right? So it's pretty cool to see everything on blockchain. So this cannot be lost. It's always there. So that's also one of the things that it's typical for blockchains, public blockchains, always up and running, always available. You cannot hide, you cannot delete transactions. This is always here, right? So that's the point. If you want to dive even deeper, contract call, you can actually see. Let's start with the first one. So you can click on this transaction and you see exactly what happened, right? So this is the point of these block explorers, to see the details, what was going on this transaction, how much fee, how much value did you transfer, all the steps that happened from the beginning to the end, and so on, right? So it's nice thing if you like to dig a bit deeper, to have an overview of what's going on, what happened with specific address, with specific transaction. Because sometimes some transactions will not be successful. Maybe you're waiting for your NFT to be minted. Sometimes it's not successful. You will have to do it again, or you will have to mint another NFT, or you will have to swap another time. So sometimes, transactions are not successful. That's why it's so important to understand how to look, or how to have this insight, right? Because, sometimes projects or, a blockchain is not, the reason why you don't have maybe some tokens received or NFTs minted, but transactions sometimes fail, right? Maybe because of too low gas. So if you have low gas or low fee to pay, maybe the network could be a bit of congested and so on, right? Or maybe sometimes it takes not only a few seconds, but only or maybe more, right? Maybe few minutes or maybe a day. I don't know. Sometimes happens, right? So when congestion comes, you have nothing else but to wait if the transaction was pending, or if it was successful. So yeah, use that block explorers, because they're very useful and something that you need to use if you are I will say not only beginner, but that's already a bit advanced stuff. So thank you for being here, and see you in the next one. Hi, welcome to Module 5. My name is Gasper, and I'm Developer Relations Lead at Oasis Network. In this module, I will show you some dApps that are built on top of Oasis, especially on Emerald EVM supported blockchain. So I will show you some DEXs, I will mention DEXs, so decentralized exchanges. I will show you some bridges, how you can bridge some assets from other chains to Emerald, and how you can do some lending, how you can do some borrowing, and also which platform could be used for, NFT marketplace or your NFT or Web3 go-to platform on Emerald. So let me begin with first slide, which is important because wallets that are used for our Emerald paradigm are not like official wallets, but it's actually the most popular one, which is MetaMask. So essentially, if you want to use the Emerald paradigm or Emerald dApps, you will have to configure your MetaMask with Emerald mainnet or even with Emerald testnet. Nowadays, this is pretty simple because you can essentially go to docs.oasis.dev and you can actually scroll down to Emerald and you will have two buttons where you can actually click Add Network to MetaMask and it will be installed and configured for you, simply automatically just by one click. Otherwise, you can do it manually. You can go to MetaMask, you can add a network, and you can use these parameters. So essentially, you need RPC, that's the URL of, let's say, our Web3 gateway, and also you have this chain ID. Sometimes you need hexadecimal version or even decimal. Okay, so what you can do with these wallets. Now, sometimes you want to use native, or let's say native wallet browser extension, MetaMask, or I also sometimes use Brave wallet. So Brave is actually a browser which has already wallet built in. And in the past, it was based on MetaMask. Now they already have their own native built-in wallet. And essentially it works the same as MetaMask. Okay, so you can connect to Emerald with these wallets. You can transfer on Emerald, on Emerald network, which means essentially between Ethereum compatible accounts. If you have, for example, Yuzu tokens and you want to send them to another friend, or maybe you want to do some swaps, maybe you want to use some DEXs, maybe you want to mint NFTs. So whatever you want to do on Emerald, these are the wallets to, use this Emerald network. Okay. Now let's go to first example. DEX that was first built on Emerald by community is Uniswap. So Uniswap is essentially an open, safe, and they call it fair DEX ecosystem where you can actually swap tokens. Let's say Rose from Rose to wrapped ETH. You can swap, let's say, Rose to USDC, ETH to USDC, and so on. So basically, you can swap just like on centralized exchange, but in a decentralized way. Okay. So for that reason, I always encourage people to check liquidity. Okay. So why liquidity? Because centralized exchanges usually have deep liquidity, which means that when you swap from one, or when you change, or when you sell some tokens or assets to another asset, there is no huge slippage, which means that you usually get a good rate for your asset. Now on DEXs, that could be a problem if there is no enough liquidity, which means that you will suddenly get a lot less than on centralized exchange if you're, let's say, swapping between Rose to ETH. Okay, so always check the liquidity before do that. Okay, now what also these DEXs offer, for example, Uniswap offers liquidity pools and liquidity mining, which means that you can become liquidity provider and you can earn some rewards, a good APY for providing or being liquidity provider. Okay, so that's pretty nice. And yeah, there's also a feature called trade mining. When you trade, you also get some, I will call it like, it's almost like a cashback, but essentially when you trade, you get some reward back if you're using the user swap. Okay, pretty cool. Otherwise, there are other DEXs. I think there is a Dune Swap, there is a Gem Keeper, but keep in mind, always go to DEX with a good liquidity. Now, bridging. Bridging is very important because how you will transfer your USDC or your Ethereum to Emerald. You cannot do it from Ethereum directly to, you cannot send assets directly from Ethereum to Emerald. You need to bridge those assets, okay? And that's why we have bridges like Portal built by Wormhole or Cbridge by Seller Network. So essentially these two protocols or solutions, let's say bridges, they're actually taking your assets from, let's say, another chain. It could be Ethereum, BSC, Avalanche, and so on, right? So other chains, and then bridge them to Emerald Network, okay? What does that mean? It means there are some smart contracts in between, but essentially you get, let's say if you had 10 Ethereum on Ethereum, you actually bridge those 10 Ethereum to Emerald. And then you can use this 10 Ethereum on Emerald Network, maybe for swapping, maybe for staking, maybe for providing liquidity. I don't know. You have many options. But that's what essentially it does. It bridges your assets from multiple chains to Emerald blockchain or to Emerald paradigm. Okay? Now, keep in mind that when you will bridge your assets to Emerald, usually you need to find smart contract for that asset. Why? Because you want to import that token to your MetaMask or Brave built-in wallet to see your assets. That's why it's important to understand how to use block explorers. So for that reason, you can use Emerald block explorer, right? And you find the name of the bridged asset, bridged token, and then you find a smart contract and import that smart contract to your wallet. Cool. Let me show you another nice protocol called Fontaine protocol. It was actually the first cross-chain lending protocol built on top of the Oasis, again on Emerald. And if you take a look, that's the first cross-chain lending borrowing protocol where you can also earn. Okay, so you actually get APY when you supply some of your assets. For example, you have a lot of rows, you can supply rows and you get some APY. So you get some interest or you get some reward for that. You can also borrow assets. For example, you provide rows and you can then use that as a collateral, right? And then you can borrow based on how much how much value you provide, but you can essentially borrow, let's say, some USDC or something, right? And not only that, what I like here with the Fontaine protocol, there is a new feature called dual farming. You can do dual farming on Uniswap, but essentially when you provide liquidity, you get dual reward, which means that you get a reward in FTP token and USU token when you provide liquidity for specific pairs. So this is very cool. You can also check the webpage. It's called ftp.cash and the native token used is FTP. Pretty cool. If you are more into the NFT world, Web3 stuff, and so on, okay? When you are trying to take control of your data in your hands, that's why the Metameter is here, and that's why they're using Oasis. Okay, it's really beneficial because now user has this autonomous feeling that he can actually own the data, and he can actually own the rights, and he can decide if he will share the data or share something with other users or not. Okay, and maybe even earn for that because they will allow some data to be shared, right? And also the privacy, which is also used by Metameter, right, for a specific project, not for everything, because on Metameter is also NFT marketplace and a gallery, so you can check your NFTs. You can also, maybe you have 100 NFTs on your Ethereum compatible address on Emerald, and you can use Metameter to only show your NFTs. But you can also have marketplace. Okay, you can go to marketplace. You can sell your NFTs. You can buy NFTs, so you can trade NFTs, right? Some are only profile pictures. Some are only art. Some actually have some utility, right? So this is a huge opportunity to grow. Okay. So yeah, keep in mind. Keep in mind that privacy is also built in using Parcel, because Parcel is actually an SDK which enables privacy. So some examples could be private NFTs, and these private NFTs were actually built on Emerald with Parcel. Okay, so we have some, let's say, a private part of the NFT, and then it's a combination of Parcel and Emerald, and it gives you the private NFT. Okay, cool. Now, with that, I want to finish with our last but not least topic and slide, which is Oasis documentation and support. If you have any questions, if you want to participate, if you want to run a node, if you're a developer, usually I really like to invite you to Discord, because our Discord now have a lot of channels, a lot of community, nice community, helping each other, building stuff and so on. So yeah, join us on Discord. And also, if you want to see more in details, some guides, some how-tos and so on, you can visit docs.oasis.dev, and you can get all these guides, all this useful information about our blockchain, about our network. And yeah, I'm happy to deliver that. I'm happy to help, and I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, see you in the next course. Bye.